What's up guys? Welcome to this part of Nobody Knows channel. Today we want to talk about the top 5 most dangerous prisoners in the world. With a simple search you'll find out each of these people have crossed paths with 36 serial killers throughout their lives. Some of them get caught, but others continue freely with their terrifying lives and activities until the end of their days. So it might be interesting to take a look at the lives of these human-like demons. Let's go. Number 5. Peter Curtin. Just before they beheaded Peter Curtin, the famous vampire of Dusseldorf, he told the prison psychologist, "Tell me, will my ears hear something for at least a minute after they cut off my head? I want to hear the sound of my blood gushing." Yeah, gotta say, Peter Curtin was one of the sickest criminals in the world. The reason he became known as the Vampire Man was that he claimed to get great pleasure from drinking blood and killing. He'd gulp down blood until he felt satisfied. Curtin got sentenced to 9 murders at the time of his execution, but the police believed he had at least 68 killings under his belt, hinting at a dark past in his life. Curtin was the first child in a family with 13 kids. His dad was like a devil, always drinking alcohol, and when he came home at night, he treated his children with extreme anger. However, this savage behavior took a different form when it came to Curtin's sisters. The most significant event in Peter's life happened when he was 9 years old. While he was out with his friends for a boat race, a kid fell into the river from the bank and was drowning. Another child jumped in to save him, but instead of helping the second boy, Peter held his head underwater until he drowned too. So, 2 innocent kids drowned, but no one suspected Peter at all. So messed up. His second murder happened when he went to a hotel in Dusseldorf and saw a 10-year-old girl named Christine. But in the end, he killed her. And that's how the killings continued for a long time. But in 1930, the victims finally got lucky. A young woman who had come from the villages around Dusseldorf managed to accidentally catch the killer. Such a stroke of luck. His crimes were so horrifying that doctors decided to examine the reason behind his bloodlust by dissecting his brain. But they couldn't find any abnormal signs explaining why the Dusseldorf Dracula killed his victims so savagely and drank their blood. In the end, his split head was put on display in a museum called The Devil's Face in Wisconsin, USA. Creepy, right? Number 4. Grady Styles. Grady Styles is the name of someone who worked in a circus and was known as the Lobster Boy. His life and death have some bizarre stories that amaze everyone. He had a very rare disorder that caused his fingers to stick together, making his hands look like lobster claws. That's why Mr. Styles became known as the Lobster Boy. He followed in his father's footsteps and started working in the circus. He usually didn't use his legs and relied more on his arms, which gave him a strong upper body. Because of this, he appeared scary, and his kids used to say that Mr. Styles threatened people with his hands and mistreated his family. The problems escalated in the family when the Lobster Boy's daughter fell in love with a young man in 1978 and got engaged to him. Mr. Styles disagreed with his daughter's decision and, the night before the wedding, he killed her fiancée with a gun. He didn't regret his actions at all and confessed to his wrongdoing. Besides the issues with his hands, Styles also had dwarfism and severe liver cirrhosis. The prison didn't have the necessary facilities to care for him, so the Lobster Boy was conditionally released. Styles always taunted his family, saying, "I've killed someone before, so I can do it again." Mary and her family were tired of Mr. Styles' bizarre and demeaning behavior. After a heated argument on November 29, 1992, the Lobster Boy ended up shooting a man. Despite many doubts about the real culprit, the court ultimately found Mary and her son guilty. Apparently, they had hired a 17-year-old neighbor named Chris Wyant to do the job. Mary says, "I felt like he was planning to kill my family. I'm sorry for this whole incident, but my family is safe now." In the end, Grady Styles was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The media got interested in the story of these family murders. His daughter appeared in the TV series Carnivale and had a role in Tim Burton's movie Big Fish. Overall, many shows were made about this family and their life story. Number 3. Rodney Alcala. Well, we've talked about various killers, so what's your take on their intelligence? Do you think they're just dumb people committing such heinous crimes? Let's take a look at the life of Rodney Alcala, the most intelligent serial killer. This guy is one of the weirdest and most fascinating serial killers ever. He became infamous for the murders, and the real number of his victims was never known. Rodney was a quiet and introverted student in school. When he was 17, he joined the U.S. Army but got discharged later due to personality and mental issues. They said he was highly intelligent but unbalanced in his profile. His average IQ was around 168 in 3 consecutive tests, which is unbelievable, but hey, Einstein's average IQ was 160. Mind-blowing, right? After a while, the police caught him for assaulting a 13-year-old girl and sentenced him to 10 years in prison, but he got out after just 2 years due to good behavior. The police wanted to keep an eye on him after his release, but unbelievably, he disappeared without a trace. Then, 3 months later, he murdered a girl. Turns out, with his high intelligence, he could easily connect with girls and ended up killing some of them. Investigations show that the number of his victims could be anywhere between 8 to 130 people. The trial of Rodney Alcala was super long and tough because he used his special intelligence to deny all the charges, and it was hard to find evidence of his killings. He never confessed to any of the murders. In a really weird way, Rodney managed to beat the lie detector in 3 stages during the questioning. So sneaky. Number 2. John Wayne Gacy. Who better than a laughing clown to be a serial killer? John Wayne Gacy is one of the infamous murderers in the world. He earned the nickname Killer Clown for his work at children's birthday parties and charity events as Pogo the Clown. His job gave him easy access to victims. Gacy was sentenced for rape, torture, and killing 33 teenage boys over 6 years. He would lure those kids to his home, murder them, and then bury them in his own house. The interesting thing was when they finally arrested him, all his neighbors and friends were super shocked because the John Gacy they knew was a successful and kind man. He had worked hard in his job and earned everyone's respect. Little did they know that this beloved and likable person was one of the most terrifying serial killers. Crazy, right? Take a look at the picture on the screen, for example. In that photo, you see John Wayne Gacy, one of the members of the Chamber of Commerce, shaking hands with the First Lady of America. The interesting thing is, at the time this picture was taken, he had already killed 20 young men. Can you believe it? In the end, Gacy got executed by lethal injection in 1994. Justice served. Number 1. Richard Ramirez. The world of crime has plenty of dangerous people, but among them, Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, stands out as something peculiar and bizarre. He committed 13 murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries over a 14-month period. So messed up. Ramirez went to the victims' homes for his brutal and bizarre crimes. He had no specific pattern in his killings, meaning he used different tools, and the victims had no common age or personality traits. That's why it took a long time for anyone to realize that the Los Angeles killings might be the work of one person. The funny thing is, after his trial and TV interviews, several people fell in love with him. One of them, a lady named Doreen Leoie, wrote 75 love letters to this serial killer and rapist and ended up marrying him. Can you believe it? And this was while Ramirez was waiting for the death penalty in prison. Anyway, Doreen was officially Ramirez's wife for 13 years. Crazy stuff. If I want to give you a quick summary of his tough past, I gotta say, His dad was a hardcore police officer and treated him in a terrifyingly strict way. Richard had to sleep in cemeteries just to escape his father's beatings. In his teens, Ramirez was heavily influenced by his uncle, Miguel, who had returned from the Vietnam War with stories of war and assaulting women. When Richard was only 13, he witnessed his uncle killing his own wife. No wonder all these messed up events messed up his feelings so much that none of the interrogation techniques could break him or make him confess. Such a twisted story. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for our upcoming videos. By the way, if you liked this topic, let us know in the comments so that we can have an episode in the future about the prisons that hold these monsters. We're looking forward to your feedback.